First, though, 6 years ago, 24-year-old Gypsy-Rose Blanchard was jailed for the murder of her mother, Dee Dee. But as Denise and Jane have been finding out, it was the events leading up to that night that grabbed the world's attention.
In 2016, Gypsy-Rose Blanchard was jailed for the murder of her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. Growing up, Gypsy had been made to believe she was disabled and terminally ill, undergoing a number of intrusive and painful medical operations. But Gypsy was never sick. Her mum suffered from Munchausen by proxy syndrome and had devoted herself to caring for Gypsy, telling the world she had leukemia and required a feeding tube. In 2015, Gypsy and her then-boyfriend plotted to kill her mother. Dee Dee was murdered at home by Gypsy's boyfriend.
Startling new developments in an already bizarre murder case in Springfield.
Gypsy pled guilty to second-degree murder. The court heard that Dee Dee had often given her daughter medication to make her seem sick. In 2023, Gypsy-Rose was released from jail. Now a free woman, she has a daughter who she says is helping her to heal the wounds of her own childhood.
And Gypsy-Rose joins us now. Hi there, Gypsy-Rose. How are you doing?
Hi, doing good.
Well, thank you for joining us today. Let's sort of just take you straight back to where it all started, which, of course, is your childhood. What do you remember about your early relationship with your mother and some of the things that you now realise that you were unnecessarily being put through?
My early memories of my childhood, I remember hospitals, a lot of hospitals. I remember being very close with my mom. When I was little, my whole world was my mom, my stuffed animals, and my cat, and hospitals. So that is how I remember my childhood.
Gypsy, I've followed this story since it began, avidly. And I have always been someone who has felt incredibly sympathetic to what happened. One thing that I've always wanted to know is that you had so many medical procedures. You spent 24 years of your life in and out of hospitals. How did your mother get the medics to believe how sick you were in order to actually operate?
She had a very convincing personality. So a lot of times she would kind of sweet talk the doctors and appear very concerned about my health. And to the point that I don't think that anyone would question her intentions. She came across as a very loving and caring mother that just wanted her child to be taken care of. So I don't think anybody would question a mom's motives like that.
I guess so. But then again, when they are looking at you and investigating and not finding anything, were you actually suffering pain? I mean, and I did read somewhere that your mum actually did inject drugs into you or make you take drugs so that it would sort of mimic the symptoms of some illnesses?
Of course. I mean, there were many times that I went through painful procedures, and when I had my teeth removed, I was put on medication that caused to lead me to addiction. So, I mean, there was a lot of things that that went into that. So, there's no knowing if there is any long-term effects or not. Sure. So far, I'm healthy, but it was a lot that I had to go through.
I mean, obviously your mother, they now say, had Munchausen's by proxy, which, of course, is a very rare form of child abuse. But I find it astonishing that doctors didn't sort of tweak that quite early on. I mean, their job is to not listen to persuasive people and to use their better judgment. But at what point did you, or do you now think, looking back, did you start to twig that maybe things were not quite right?
I mean, I really started to get a sense of that my life was not quite normal at the age of 19. And so I think at the age of 19, I really started wondering what else is life like outside of my mother. And that's when I started to kind of question more and look into things more.
Gypsy, we all know ultimately what happened, and your mother lost her life for right or wrong. People have got their own opinions of how, you know, how far you were pushed. But before it came to that crisis point, did you not think of what were the alternatives to that? Did you honestly feel so desperate that you wouldn't be believed? Did you think about reaching out to your dad? I know she had estranged you from your dad. You obviously felt that there was no other way out. Is that right?
That is correct. You know, at the time, I was very, very sheltered in my life. And so the avenues in which I cognitively thought to reach out, my mom had told me a lot of lies about my father. And so I didn't turn to him for help because I thought that he didn't love me. That's what my mom led me to believe. Um, I grew up with a mom that basically made me fearful of strangers. And so I felt like the only person I could confide in was my co-defendant. And so I wish I would have gone through other avenues. That is a forever lifelong regret. But unfortunately, hindsight's 2020, and so I can't change the past.
Do you feel guilt now at your involvement in your mother's murder?
Of course, of course. I have to live with that every single day. And that's a lifelong sentence. I might, you know, have served 8.5 years in prison, but that is a lifelong sentence for me.
I don't think anybody can ever understand what was going through your little mind for 24 years, you know, so obviously there are going to be some people who judge you. But now, of course, which we're going to see in Gypsy-Rose's life after lockup, things have turned around for you. And you are the mother of a beautiful baby girl, Aurora, with Ken, am I right, who you met in prison, you got engaged, but then he left the relationship for your sake, you're back together. And it's obviously given the word mother a different connotation now to you.
It has. I had been suffering from the trigger word mom or mother. And now that I am a mother now, it has taken on a new meaning to me. And I really feel like it's healing my inner child. Getting to see, you know, life and a mother and daughter's love through her eyes has reshaped everything that I had believed a mother was. And it has done so for the positive.
Do you see your mother as evil, or do you see her as mentally ill?
No, I don't. I never wanted to villainize my mom. I never approved of her being villainized. All I ever did was share my story. And unfortunately, you know, the sense of her past put that label on her. I, however, don't feel like she was evil. I feel like she would have needed mental help. And with that knowledge, I think we need to shift the narrative of putting her in a box. I think that more mental health awareness of Munchausen by proxy needs to be advocated for.
And presumably you've looked into this and researched it yourself. Looking back now, why do you think that she did all that to you? Why did she need that attention?
That is exactly what Munchausen by proxy is. It is a crave for attention, mostly because the individual feels a lack of love or importance. And so they try to, by proxy, those emotions and that attention through their child.
I think that what I enjoyed in your first series, and I'm looking forward to seeing in this series, is the lovely relationship between you and your dad, who you said you'd been estranged from for such a long time, and your lovely stepmom as well.
Yes.
I'm sure that they're enjoying being grandparents to Aurora, and I look forward to, hopefully we'll see a lot of them in the next series. Do we? Is that what we can look forward to?
Yes, yes. It has been a very magical time for all of us. I think my father is, because he was robbed of a childhood with me, or you know, being a parent to me. So I think by him being a grandpa, it's given him some healing as well.
Great.
Well, Gypsy-Rose, thank you very, very much for joining us, and
Thank you for having
good
me.
luck with everything that you do in the future.
Thank you.
Bye. Extraordinary interview. And Gypsy-Rose Life After Lockup starts on Sunday the 16th of March at 9 p.m. on Crime and Investigation.